All right, happy Friday. Welcome to the Charles Show. Funny thing, I just got flagged for saying happy Friday. And they said that continued harassment for saying happy Friday will result in me getting banned and stuff like that. So TikTok is basically just doing what they got to do to go ahead and get rid of me as they throttle me down. I was just getting ready to tell somebody when I post a video now, it's literally back to when I first started TikTok. When I first started TikTok and would just put random crazy videos on, it would get, I don't know, 300 views, 400 views maybe. And Tyler, you're going to report TikTok for reporting. And now it's the same way. When I post a video, within 1 hour, I will get my majority of traffic. And then after that hour, it's done. Like it'll go up to 3, 4, 5, 600 views, which is literally where I started. So they've bell curved me down to where I'm at, where I started. So they're up here saying I'm hate speeching for saying Happy Friday. They're up here saying that my content is exciting as a QR code. It reminds me of my old boss who couldn't find anything wrong with me for forever. Until I slipped up once, and then they just got rid of me. It was kind of funny. Yeah, I actually talked about my old boss. I was engaged in a conversation. It was I was in a shipyard, and everybody else was talking vulgar, and I ended up talking about an adult entertainer who left a snail trail on my chest, and that's what I said, and they couldn't fire me. They removed me from the office and had me out on some weird job or something. It was just, but he tried. He was waiting for years. He couldn't find nothing wrong to get rid of me. He didn't want me in his department. It kind of sucked. Anyway, let's start answering some questions. Abe the Prophet, Grand Rising. How do you make the post office liable for losing registered mail? I think registered is insured. Is that correct? If it's or no, I think you have to have insurance on it. If you don't have insurance, then they can just wipe their butt with it, light it on fire, and smoke it, and then that's it. I think you have to insure it. I don't think it's necessarily already insured, but that's possible. I'd have to do research on that, and that's like a slightly beyond what I like trying to do while I'm on these lives because it's let's see, I'll try though. Is registered mail insured? $50,000. Get maximum security. Oh, for your valuable goods. Items can be insured for up to $50,000. It doesn't say it's automatically insured. So that's what I was going to try to dig into and find out. That's what you can do is find out if it's automatically insured. If it's not, then, like I said, you're kind of out back, buddy. Sorry. Mr. George laughing, crying. Good stuff. User building a trust. Oh, you want to know how to build a trust? Trusts are very simple. They can start viva voce, which is by the voice, or indelibly, which is in writing. It's up to you, however you want to choose that path. But really, the substance and source of flow of energy is where it all begins. So if you want to build a trust, first of all, it has to have 5 parts. The first 3 are really easy. You got to identify all parties: the beneficiary, the trustee, and the grantor. You can be all of them, but there has to be an additional beneficiary, or it's not a trust. So you can be any 2 you want, or all 3, and there has to be an additional beneficiary. But anyway, those are 3 of the 5. Then it has to have property and a purpose, and that's it. Like I've told everybody, I can hand you a pencil and say I'll be back in an hour, and if you accept it, you grab it. We've created a trust. It doesn't have to be a piece of paper. Everybody in their normal day-to-day lives thinks that the piece of paper is the contract and how commerce is operating only, but it's not. Commerce is everything. Exchanging of words is value. I can memorialize everything through transcript that I'm writing. If I need to enforce something, I can by doing an affidavit or whatever. But it all starts typically viva voce, which is speaking. All right, so hello, Hannah. Hello, beautiful. You're amazing. Very, very, very incredible. But TikTok used to be boss. I would put out a video, and it would see 100, 200,000 views. I post something on YouTube, and it'll get 13 impressions, which is what YouTube does. But granted, I'm not doing stuff like twerking or I'm smoking hot like you, or like, throwing cats out a window or something. I'm trying to educate the public, which is the last thing that people that control all these platforms want. So, I post something on YouTube, I'll get 13 impressions, and out of those 13, 7 of them are subscribers, so they'll click on it, and then I'll get like one like. I come on TikTok now, and I'm just getting, if I'm lucky, I'll break 1,000 now. But to date, my most liked video is my Sovereign in Court number 3. And but when I did my first Sovereign in Court, they removed my ability to see who goes on my profile. All right, so Goldfinger 8. What else am I on? All right, so all my social medias are linked on my profile page of TikTok. If you go on my website, you'll see all my social medias. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll find I'm on Telegram, I'm on TikTok. I used to be on Tinder, Twitter or X or whatever it is, and I still got the old symbol for that, and YouTube. And I might end up, I guess if this goes away, I might end up branching out into podcasts or Rumble or something like that. But I love you too. Pick your poison. You're welcome, Goldfinger. Feel free to ask any questions, guys. It's a beautiful Friday. I actually started watching this amazing interview with this guy. It's called the Ultimate History Lesson, and this guy by John Taylor Gatto. And I was actually given a plug to him by someone who sent me a voicemail through email. I've never had that before, but they sent me a voicemail and suggested anybody who's going to be a teacher or wants to be a teacher or has taught to watch this interview. And this thing is 5 hours long, and I'm 3 hours and 41 minutes in on it. And this dude has knowledge like talking about, like he knows like all the books he's ever read. He knows like all these people from all the books. It's just. But what he's done, he used to be a teacher, and he taught for 30 years, and he started asking the question like, why am I being given this indoctrination to give these children that it's not going to help them? So what he started doing was he had 120 students, and he created 120 curriculum, one for each student, and he was doing this without like the principals knowing all this stuff. And then he said he could hide it, but up to a certain point. He couldn't hide but so long with so many excuses, because the principal would come by and there'd only be like 3 people in his class, and he's like, what's going on? And he would have each one of his students out doing research, which would encapsulate all of the main basic necessities that one needs in education, plus beyond and above, and specifically tailored to that person. And he eventually got fired for this, because the people at the top don't want a smart, well-educated, critically thinking individual. They're trying to create employees. That's what the school system is designed for. So, but basically, this interview, this guy's talking. He taught for 30 years, and then basically got out of it, and he breaks down everything. He's talking about basically everything from Rockefeller to Darwin, and I wasn't even familiar with this. Darwin, and how he was involved in eugenics and thought that like Irish people were worthless. I got a little Irish in me. I got like some red hairs and stuff. I'm like a mutt. Like I don't know what I am. I got everything like Dutch, German, Irish. And anyway, I suggest this. I've been sending this link to a couple people for this interview, because it blows my mind how well he is able to recall all the books, names, authors, and stuff that he's learned throughout his tenure, and put all the pieces together on how and why the education system is created the way it is, what it's for, who funded it, and why it's used to divide us and keep us basically down here to be employees, to never get out of a system from the people at top, from the top, that control everything. So let me get back to some questions. Chris Vaughn, Prince Charles, yay, or Priney. I'm assuming there's a C missing up in that jank. Pick your poison. How can I exempt myself from property tax? So you're only taxed, well, it depends on if you're trying to engage in commerce, but you pay taxes on property that you don't control. And if you don't believe me, don't pay taxes on it, and the true controllers will come and get their stuff. Like, don't pay taxes on your house, don't pay taxes on your car. Watch what happens. The controllers of the property will come up and take their stuff. And that's something I want to start calling the elites, is not rulers. I'm going to start just calling them controllers, because that's what the Rockefeller said, is control everything. Own nothing, control everything. Well, that's what the people at the top who understand how everything and the dynamics work, which I'm slowly getting kind of putting all the pieces together. But, you want to control stuff. So if it's your true property and you control it, you don't have to pay taxes on it. Now, if you're talking about land, again, it depends on, you have to get the land patent and or the land grant. You have to get control of it. Do a grantee acceptance on it, as long as there's no heirs, successors, or lineage that the original grant or patent was issued to still alive that can claim it. Then you got to talk to them, but you got to go to the Bureau of Land Management and do a research on the patent history or grant history from the original issuers, the king, and make sure it's not encumbered, because sometimes grants and patents have mineral rights that were issued to somebody else and stuff like that. It could be cloudy. So it depends on what the property is. Then you can acquire true title over it, depending on what it is. There's different methods for different things. Once you have true controlling title over it, you don't have to pay taxes on it, because it would be yours. Okay, and you can tell anybody else to kick rocks. It's like, this is my property. Step off. I don't know what you're doing. So this property was quitclaimed to my 6 children, single family. So your home is controlled by the state that it's registered to, and that's basically who the controller is. And a lot of people don't really understand how property works, but if it's encumbered or liened or controlled by somebody else and you put it in a trust, it doesn't matter if you put it in a trust or not. It still has underlying duties and obligations and liabilities from the previous owner. Okay? So whenever you try to put something inside of a trust, if you don't have true controlling title over it, somebody can come in and force or take or mess with their stuff, because they have the controlling interest over it. All right, so Abe the Prophet, can you just educate me on equity, exclusive equity? John Bouvier said it best, and I put it in my disclaimer. Equity is the soul and source of the law. You can look up. I have, I believe, a folder on equity on my website where you can look up some stuff. Chancery practices. Chancery is basically the hearing of equity. Equity, to sum up exclusively, is coming from righteous judgment on a case-by-case basis. And when I found out equity, it was so cool, blew my mind, because it's the most powerful. It's the spirit. It's basically like what happened to me when I went in front of a judge and he said that I have to sentence you to 3 years in jail. Is because that's not equity. He was just coming from the legal status of a statute. Okay, he's like, I'm bound by this. This is what I have to do, because I didn't bring my own law in. I didn't bring equity in. I didn't try to get any type of remedy or relief inside a court case. So when you're coming from equity, equity is the spirit of a case. The judge that sentenced me on my case basically said that I have to sentence you, because he was bound by the legal system, by the statutes. Equity, you're not bound by anything. You're just basically using righteous judgment. The sky's the limit. It's the spirit. You're taking all things into account, assessing everything on a case-by-case basis, and using righteous, lawful judgment. My favorite law book, the Bible, has that outlined all the time when they're interfacing with Yahshua. He's constantly coming from equity, a position of sovereign. He's always asking the questions. He's always putting the ball back in them. Like, they were like, are you king of the Jews? He was like, say this of thyself, or did others tell this of you? He's asking the question back, basically saying, like, he's not, it's not confession and avoid. It's like a court game. But exclusive equity is basically where all the power is. That's a position that you want to take almost all day, every day. And throughout the Bible, it outlines continuously not to be bound by the law, not to be bound by written law, because you can make your own law, And for instance, if you wanted to sit down on a piece of paper and try to start writing everything that you can do, everything that you can't do, everything that you are, like quote unquote your rights. You don't have rights when you're dealing in the legal system. You have benefits and privileges that are granted to a franchise that's a bankrupt franchise of the U.S. But equity, like I said, is case by case, coming from the high spiritual, high side of everything. So, all right, pick your own poison. State or town? What family home state? The state. The state has the controlling, but the city would be the basically the repository. The courthouse would be the repository of all the titles, and that's why during the war, when the states refused to pay the debts, because the U.S. has always been bankrupt. That's why the Brits came over here and burned all the courthouses, because that's where they kept all the titles. They've always kept this. It's like a British thing. The courthouse controls the titles to property, and that's it's like on a city by city, and it's funny here where I'm at in Norfolk. And I remember seeing this. It was so cool. I went in the museum here. We have a world-renowned museum that's like right in my backyard, and when I go there, there was this cool scepter that was granted to like a mayor of Norfolk, like like in the 1600s or something. And it said to the Corporation of Norfolk, and it's like it was right there. I took a picture of it. I don't know where it is. It's been long gone, but it's like it's right there in front of your face, but nobody would ever see it. Every state, every city, everything's business. It's all corporations. Everything is corporate interests. All right, so pick your own poison. How do you declare true equity? By being the sovereign. And bring in your own law, and it takes a lot of studies, especially if you're going to try to go in front of a quote unquote official or officer or one of your servants. It takes some gumption and to take that position. All right, so Al Johnson, how do you get in that equity door? You have to live in it and stay in it, and it depends on what situation. If you're dealing in court, because one of the definitions of court is wherever a sovereign resides or residence, and that's where you are. Everywhere you are, you're holding court. You are a sovereign on this land. You have the unalienable right to contract unlimitedly however you want, and it's basically up to you. So how? And yeah, I'm in Virginia, Norfolk. That's right. That's where I'm at. Al Johnson. So I hope everybody's enjoying this Friday. It's a very beautiful day. I'm at the bottom of my questions very quickly. Cancer Empath. Hey, how you doing? Nice to see you, man. $500 fine for not obeying a court order and $3,000 ticket for no insurance on the bike. Goodness gracious. They're coming at you with that. Create a trust and send it to the CFO here in our courts. Now I know that Canada is very similar to the U.S. and I sat down and we talked. Well, I didn't sit down, but I talked to a guy on the phone, and we went through all kinds of things. And it's like Canada is operating almost the same way the U.S. is in all kinds of ways. So here, when you're dealing in a courthouse, the CFO, which is one of the basically officers that can bind a corporation into contractual obligations, because you typically want to deal with one of them, the CEO, CFO, or president. The CFO here in a courthouse is the clerk of courts. That's basically the CFO. So you can create trusts. If you do the grantee acceptance on all liabilities, then you can turn around and create a trust and send it to the CFO to set off, settle, and close. And that trust is enforceable. And according to trust law, cannot fail for lack of trustee. They don't here. Again, there's no such thing as involuntary servitude, so they don't have to accept that position. But again, I don't know all the codes, statutes, and stuff for Canada, but I know it all for the U.S. And again, it seems that Canada operates very, very similar in mirrored ways. So just create a trust and then tell somebody to set it off. Hey, you are very welcome. No problems. Rebecca, how do you become executor of your estate? So you want to be very careful. taking that position. And I have a video on that, and I'm not sure if it's misinformation 1 or 2. I think it might be my second misinformation video. But when you become an executor of your estate, it is a very powerful thing, but once you take that position, you cannot engage that entity in any new types of contractual obligations. We have the unlimited ability to contract however we want, okay? Now, when you take the position of executor, you're kind of bound by statutes because you got to remember the U.S. citizen, you didn't create it, okay? You're the authorized representative of it, and you can control what you create. So who created that gets to make and dictate and control and make certain rules and guidelines for that entity. And when you say the entity is dead, even though it's just a corporation, it's a trust, okay? When you put into motion that an entity is quote unquote dead, a U.S. citizen, an individual trust, you got to start winding up affairs. Unless you have a will in place that specifies that is in accordance with all the public policies and statutes. If you create a will that of the certain things that it can still do after it's dead for the executor, then you can take that position. But then you also have to be very careful because a lot of public corporations, their software, even if you try to come in there and say, it's an all capital name and you have the same exact name but it's all lowercase, sometimes they'll ask you what's the tax identification number for the executor, because that's how their system operates. So if you don't have a tax ID number, a separate one, then they're going to say it's the same entity, and try to hit you on fraud. So again, you have to express a will, everything that the entity can do after its death, granting you, quote unquote, a different entity, because you have to use an entity to interface with the public. It's just how it works. So again, that's how you do it. You'd express a will, and then start operating as the executor. But if you get on a public court case on the record and explain that it's dead, and then you get caught like opening up new bank accounts or trying to get a credit card or get a mortgage or something like that, and it's not expressed in the will about certain things that the executor can do, then you're committing fraud, and you're gonna get yourself hemmed up. So it is a very powerful thing, though. Anyway, Al Johnson, my son is there in Norfolk, a youth pastor at Big House Church. Oh, cool. I've never heard of Big House Church. There's plenty of them. I know that much. There's a lot of brick and mortar churches around. Big House Church, huh? Big House. All right. Cool. I wrote it down. All right. So, user 840037. What about all these judges shutting us down when we start to defend ourselves? So, typically, now judges are honorable gatekeepers. It depends on if there's people around you or not. Normally, if you can move the judge into a private setting where there's no sheep around, there's nobody asleep, there's nobody that this will affect, okay, that is basically asleep, the judge isn't going to do stuff like that, typically. Unless you're not very learned, you're not very honorable, you're not moving the court to closure, you're not taking control of the court, then the administrator is gonna wrap stuff up. He's gonna talk over you. But typically, you will have your chance to speak, especially if you move him to a private setting where there's nobody around. Again, he has sworn an oath to uphold a bankrupt, crazy, uneducated system. All right. So if you come in there and start trying to give assets, start talking about how the U.S. citizens, the individual trust, or you're the authorized representative, or you want to reserve your rights, or you want to remain in admiralty, or you want to bring in equity, or whatever, you try doing that stuff when there's people around, the judge is going to get upset. So that's why you got to colorably and honorably move to a private setting where you can get a relief or remedy, okay? Because, like, again, if you try to say certain things around people, it's going to upset the judge. He's going to throw the book at you. He's going to talk over you. But how court works is it's a court game. It goes back and forth. So everything that the judge says is an offer, okay? Even if he's talking over you, you will get your chance to talk or talk over him, or, you got to take control of it. It takes a lot of practice, and I have some of that information on my website that you can basically go through under Commerce Court. So guys, this live will be on YouTube. The audio will be in my Telegram group All of my social media is posted on my website, which is linked on my TikTok profile page. I have playlists that can help re-educate you if you take time to go through them all. Foundation, Nature, Spirit, and Commerce. It'll change you. And I also answer emails, DMs. I answer phone calls all the time to help people. My Telegram is linked on my website. It's just a little bit down. You got to scroll down just a little bit. And my website is on my profile page of TikTok. All right, Chris Freya, pick your poison. How do you wield my individual private banker? How do you wield my individual private banker EIN? How did you get an individual private banker EIN? I have heard about that before, but I don't think it's not something that I teach, because when you're dealing with the U.S. Citizen, there's certain things that you're authorized to do and certain things that you're not authorized to do. And a lot of people get tricked up on that right there. They get tricked up on not understanding what the U.S. citizen is not allowed to be engaged in. And you, as the authorized representative, you are the one that has been authorized and allowed to use that entity. From there, you don't have to. You can dock it. You can dock the U.S. citizen. You don't have to use it. But if you are going to engage that U.S. citizen into contractual obligations and you're doing things that the U.S. citizen should not be involved in, they're going to come for the authorized representative. And if you don't know how to stand on your position or come from sovereignty or bring equity in, you can get hemmed up and get charges. You can get all kinds of trouble, okay? So whenever you're dealing in banking, you also have to remember this, okay? The U.S. is a corporation for everything that deals in banking, okay? It literally says that, is it 31 CFR 7211 or 26 USC 3002 or something? It basically says that the U.S. is a federal corporation, and at the top of the statute it says this is for everything banking, okay? That means any exchange of anything, monetary value, you're dealing in federal, all right? So that is a quick way to have a federal investigation, and that's why throughout the 10, 11 years, I just sat back and I watched all of these great mentors of mine go to jail because they started dealing in international bills of exchange. They started trying to do bonds. They started trying to do private banking stuff that they weren't authorized to do, setting off certain things. You're not authorized to do that. You have to use agents when you go through banking. The Congress has allowed or authorized banks to like monetize our signature, the authorized representative signature for the U.S. citizen. And anyway, again, you have to learn what you, as the authorized representative, and what the U.S. citizen is allowed to do. And it's hard to find some of that information, but it just takes time. You gotta put some pieces together also. All right, so Chris Vaughn, what happens if you declared SS dead, moved into a trust, the SS credit card debt dischargeable? So the Social Security number is the linchpin that turns the U.S. citizen into a federal employee, because it says anybody using a federal benefits program is considered a federal employee. So if you're using the Social Security, which is not a number, which is not yours, that's the Social Security Administration's number. If you're using that, then whatever's using that is a federal employee. So first of all, note that. Boom. Second of all, you don't control that. You didn't create the Social Security number. You applied, and when you submit, you're bound down. You're submitting an application to apply for stuff like that. You have to go by who issues stuff like that. They control it, so you can control what you create. Anyway, Abe the Prophet, where is your YouTube? It's linked on my website that's on my profile page of TikTok. Click on my little emblem and go to my profile, and my website is linked there. You can check it out. Al Johnson, my name is Charles. That's my name. User, I just had Crystal join my Telegram group. User 28801653879. How do we take true control over our children, their BCs? So you can't control the BC. You can use it. And I have a video. I think it's my Commerce 3 video. It explains the 10 things that a birth certificate is. It's not, in my next video, I'm actually going to kind of explain how the birth certificate is not the title over you. It's not the title over your body, okay? We get deceived into that. You can create a title over your child if you want to. That's in my videos called True Title. Is it birth certificate or title over child? I have a video called like title of over child. Watch that one. That should lay out everything. Watch trust. Like I said, again, I suggest watching all of the playlists on my profile. It'll help re-educate you. A lot of people like to jump when there's fire under their feet and not do like any more than that. But if you continue education and take time, and you don't have to run, you can crawl. I always suggest crawling. Don't try running. But anyway, Abe the Prophet. The things that are hard to find on the internet, can we see them on your website? Some things. I mean, I don't have everything on the internet. Like, I don't have the dark web on my internet. I just have niche knowledge that is outside of mainstream media's narrative to try to control and confuse everybody and keep people ignorant. Okay, that's what's on my website. It's stuff that has taken me 10 years to compile, and some of it's false information because from my old, if you go into class folder, some of the stuff that the mentors are talking about from 20 years ago. Some of that stuff's kind of old technology, but it's there because it helped me get to where I'm at. But you gotta put everything together on if you're smart enough, you're able to like look at the big picture. And the system is almost harmonious. Nothing's perfect, but it takes time. But the system is somewhat harmonious on a big scale, and nobody can see that forest through the trees because of all the blocks that are in front of them, the blockades. Abe the Prophet. Oh. Abe the Prophet. Internet. Nope. What is this? 05 VW Junkie. Claim their status of living. Yes, that is one of the paths that I suggest to people if they want to claim status and standing. That is a good way to separate yourself, like so that nobody can be confused that you're not the individual trust, bankrupt, franchise corporation called the U.S. citizen. You can claim any status you want, and you can mail it out to people if you want to get standing. Status and standing is a path that you can do. But, for instance, like a judge, if you go in front of a judge and say, I'm the living man, I'm not, like, this is judges 101 day one. They learned from the get-go that you're not a corporation. I mean, we're basically walking living banks, but he knows that you're not the U.S. citizen. He knows that a citizen is a trust. He knows all this stuff. When people come in there and there's people behind them and they're like, I'm the living man, it's like, duh, everybody knows you're alive, okay, first of all. And second of all, judges learn on day one that you're not a U.S. citizen, They're trained very heavily in the UCC code, and they know all these things from the jump. But they've sworn an oath to uphold the bankrupt, crazy, uneducated public policy system that keeps everybody in lock. And it keeps everybody in productive states. It keeps everybody producing capital and running on the hamster wheel to try to survive out there, And it's just that's the oath that he is uphold. But he also is a gatekeeper that will allow you to get remedy in private if you bring forth equity and love. And that's why I always try to tell everybody to come from love. All right. Okay. You're welcome, user 2881093. Chris Freya. Yes, I'm Crystal. Hi, Crystal. Happy to hear. Thank you for all you're doing to help people be free. Bless you, 777. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you're appreciative to me. Thank you for the sparkly glass thing. Pick your poison. He's got it all. Check him out. Yeah. If you check out my videos, it should help. It takes. I'll be honest. It takes like 2 hours to go through all my videos. And I have a very unique view of everything, and not everybody is on the same path that I am, and it's not for everybody. It just is what it is. My spiritual views might be so far unaligned from what you got going on that you can't stand it. It is what it is. I learn stuff from everybody. So same thing I would suggest with me. If you don't have same spiritual beliefs, kind of hear what I got to say with an open mind, brush it off if you don't like it, keep it moving. But there's a reason why I've laid all these foundations down, and they're all interlocked and they're intertwined for everybody to build off of. I'm showing everybody the different lights that we are all able to grow in together, in unity, in love, in peace. Al Johnson. I was forced to use SS to get a driver's license. How can you deny the use under threat? So you only need all that if you're dealing with someone else's property, like the car that's registered to the state controls it, and they're the beneficiary after they become the grantor, and they get to dictate what that you have to basically, you're working for the beneficiary. You're the trustee that is in charge of all the duties and obligations and taxes and debt and fees to take care of the beneficiary's property. Now, the beneficiary does allow you to sell it. They do allow you to get some equity from it if you want to sell it, or put a lien on it, or lease it out, or use it to engage in commerce, or whatever. But the beneficiary requires taxes, tax titles, and all that stuff, and paying taxes, and using a Social Security and all that stuff. If you have true controlling title over your car, you don't have to do all that stuff. But you also have to be very learned on how to travel without a license. You have to understand about giving notifications as a sovereign. You're going to start doing treaties. You've got to do paperwork. And woo, I almost lost my camera there for a minute. I was trying to move it. All right. Ave the Prophet. How do you assert equity in a court? Basically, the easiest way is to come from a republic private side. If you're doing a private administrative procedure and you want to put it into in camera to the judge, your judgment that you bring, because typically whenever you're in front of a judge, it is only because there is an opposing party in a dispute that could not be handled in the public. So if you get an agreement between the other guy or other party of interest, that the judgment is void, or there's no argument anymore, you've come up with your own judgment, you can put that into the judge on the private side through letters rogatory in camera, have it filed in, and then you got to show up in public to bring by reference the judgments or conclusions that you've made. That's one way to do it. Or you can move the judge in the private side, if you're just dealing with him and your opposing party, you can move to a private setting and say that it's not wise to handle public matters or private matters in the public like this, to get away from everybody, so you can start basically invoking equity. But again, Suits and Chancery is a good book to look at. I think I have that in my equity folder on my website. I'd have to double check, because when I have so much stuff to do, and sometimes I just be chilling. I do have stuff in equity. I've got treaties on equity. I've got 3 of them on jurisprudence, volumes 1, 2, and 3. Chancery practice, equity. I got audio files. Ooh, I've got 16. I don't know why I put land patent in there. I need to move this one. Hold on. This has got to go to home. Let's see. See, I'm up here on live doing. Oh, it's already in here. Okay, never mind. All right, screw it. All right, anyway, back. I've got thousands of TikTok videos that I've downloaded that I need to put on my website, and I try to do it occasionally. Christy Joe, thank you for educating my brainwashed self. We all, I started off this video talking about how powerful this John Taylor Gatto interview is on how our education in the U.S. came about, what it is for, why it was created, all that stuff. You would be surprised how important teaching is. When you start teaching people the right stuff in the light and love and truth, that's part of one of the reasons why I'm getting throttled down and getting kicked off TikTok, is because I'm coming from light, love, and truth and equity, and it is more powerful than anything. And just barely anybody even wants to learn that stuff anyway. But once you start taking that position and understanding coming from love and peace, like, you are unstoppable. Loving your neighbor as yourself. We're all tied together in all 3 of the lights. We're tied together in the natural light, we're tied together in the spiritual light, and we're tied together in the commercial light. And we're all part of one big body. All right, Al Johnson, thank you. I'm new to TikTok. Oh, really? Yeah, check out my Al Johnson. Check out my my website. Check out my profile page of TikTok if you can. I have playlists at the top that you can click on, and it'll start playing my videos, and it'll really change your perspective if you like my position on things. You know what I'm saying? And I try to take a neutral position for everything, but when I decide stuff and lay a foundation, it takes a lot for me to do that. All right. Thanks for the sharing of the live, Christy. Pick your poison. Anything on admiralty? Yes, admiralty is a very closely held secret, and I think I have information on that on my website as well under commerce. So you go to commerce, admiralty. Yep, I got dictionaries, admiralty law, all kinds of stuff. Admiralty is a very unique type of situation. So water is what gives a lot of things life, and that's why it's the commercial light. The water is the dipole antenna through which consciousness manifests. Okay, so even though there's a spiritual body and a natural body, the commercial body, like the spiritual body and the commercial body, can't do anything without the water, without the admiralty, without the exchange of anything, right? So water is very, very, very powerful. It is a very powerful light, and that's why in the Bible it says it is the more powerful than Lucifer. It's the more powerful light than the sun, the natural sun. So whenever dealing with the commercial light and admiralty, it is a very different environment than if you're on land. And what I typically tell people is you have to have vessels whenever you're dealing in international commercial law and admiralty, because basically you're not on land anymore. You're not found in firm soil. You're now in an environment where the water can kill you very easily. The water, it gives you life, but can also give you death very quickly. And you have to have a vessel. And the integrity of that vessel is very, very important for surviving, for all the cargo, all of the passengers, all of whatever you're trying to deal with. And admiralty terminology has been brought onto the land, and it's also in equity. So what's cool about it is if you think about water, how it goes through the phases. I know there's more than 3 phases, but it gets onto the land and it's up in the air for rain and everything. But it's also in spirit and common law. So a lot of the terminology has been brought onto the land. When you get stuff shipped to your house, in the middle of the road, there's islands. When stuff gets docked, when it gets shipped at the warehouse and stuff like that. Same thing in court. There's a lot of terminology that has some type of admiralty, and like when you're born in the birth canal, and then you go to the doctor, and then you're tendered, and they give a bill of lading of the cargo and stuff like that from your the mother vessel and stuff like that. But admiralty in court, I have information on my website. It's very interesting if you want to go through it. All right. Chrissy Joe, I am you, you me. We are one. Yes, I love that. That was beautiful. That was just summing it all up. We are bodies reflecting each other. We're fractals of the Creator, and we're all tied together in all kinds of different ways. Even though we can get deceived in the natural light very, very easily, and it's hard sometimes to come into unity when you're seeing the natural light. Can a trust be a vessel? Yes, Hazy. Yes, a trust can be all kinds of things. Yes, but a trust can be a vessel, just like the U.S. citizen is a vessel, which is an individual trust. Yep, you can be lost at sea. You can be classified as flotsam and jetsam, but some of that's old school technology. Hartley, my website is located on my profile page of TikTok. You got to click on my little emblem up here, and it will take you to my profile page, and like right below all my likes, I'm almost at 170,000. I'm getting close. 170,000 likes. I lost 8,000 likes real easily on accident, and I finally got them back. It took me 8 or 9 videos to get them back, but I finally got them back from the one I deleted, and I'm working my way back up to 200. But I don't think I'm gonna make it before I get. Oh, thanks for posting my website, Hazy. Much appreciated. I hate to admit this, but I had to delete Telegram off of my phone. I still have it on my desktop on my computer at work, but it was taking up like 8 gigs, and I was so mad. I was with my girlfriend at a park, and I'm trying to take like all these great pictures, and my phone is out of storage, and it keeps getting out of storage no matter what I do. I can delete all these pictures. I keep deleting all these apps, but Telegram, my messages has the most data. Then Telegram was next, and I'm like, dang, I don't use Telegram a whole lot, but I will post this live on there. So again, this video will be on YouTube. The audio will be on my Telegram group. If you want to look at my social medias, they're linked on my website, which is linked onto my profile page of TikTok, including playlists to help re-educate yourself. Feel free to DM me, email me, call me. I answer people all the time on a case-by-case basis. That's what I'm doing here and now. This is equity. This is answering people on a case-by-case basis. And I've had a lot of people that want to come on and join my live with me, and if they were like a very well-educated and founded person, I would entertain that. But most likely it would just be me helping one person, and it probably wouldn't be as fruitful as me being able to answer everybody. No, my number's on my website, Ave. That's where it's linked at. Hartley, got to get more storage. I delete stuff daily. Just got to have storage. Yeah, and I thought about buying more storage, but then also looked at Telegram, and I liked using it, but I wasn't using it as much as I should. And I figured what I'd try to do is just use Telegram while I'm at work now, and just deal with it that way. But just before I got on my live, I tried to copy like I used to do. I would post a picture on Telegram from my storage on my phone, and then I went to do it, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I deleted Telegram off my phone. I was like, dang. I got another Goldfinger joined my Telegram group. Thanks for the join. Gregory, thanks for Thrasher, thanks for the follow. Utkarsh Thakar. Sorry, I murdered that name. That was absolutely. I listen to my live sometimes when I'm driving, and I be mispronouncing stuff. My brain operates in such a way that my mouth sometimes isn't paying attention to what's up here because it's just trying to flow so quickly. And I go back and I'm like, dang, I knew what I was thinking was properly, but what came out wasn't exactly accurate. And it's sometimes, it's not very often, but every once in a while I'll be like, dang, I was thinking this but said that. Anyway, I hope everybody's enjoying their Friday. Hayes WC, have you heard of getting a P.O. box and using outlying minor islands? I've heard of a lot of different things to do with the post office. You as the postmaster, you can do all kinds of things. You're in charge of your post at your house. You can also open up your own P.O. box. So what's unique about the postal regulations and services is kind of it's its own unique jurisdiction. And if you actually ever paid attention to when you're mailing stuff to the IRS, they don't have like a street. They just have a P.O. box, and it's like in its own unique jurisdiction. Because they're foreign. They're foreigners here, and the U.S. citizen is a foreigner, and it's not like the true way to operate. They're all operating in like a fictional, just like in the Wizard of Oz when everything got in a hurricane and went upside down in black and white. That's how everything's operating in the public. It's all uneducated, backwards, upside down, black and white. It's just a crazy world. For instance, proof of a debt is an asset. All Federal Reserve notes are debt. If you go onto the U.S. debt or you go on the U.S. debt clock and look at all that ticking and stuff, those are Federal Reserve notes that everybody thinks is money. It's all insanity. And what is crazy is it is the sane who seem crazy in an insane world, and that's why I'm looked at as crazy. I am literally looked at as crazy because I have knowledge outside of the basic, mom and pop store and people who are educated by the public, bankrupt, Rockefeller-funded education system. But I enjoy it. I enjoy having knowledge. That's why if some fake pandemic comes through or whatever, I can start doing studies. Like, I have so much stuff on my website on that stuff that happened with C-19. It's insane. I was scrolling through with my girlfriend when we were in Jamaica. I was like, this is one of the most heaviest things that I've studied in the last 3 years. And we started going through the C-19 folder, and I'm just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling because I knew I was going to lose my job over this nonsense. And I did my best to get the most knowledge and information and to make a decision that I could, and I made the decision that was best for me, and it cost me dearly financially. It cost me a lot. I almost went bankrupt, but it is what it is. If you're gonna lose your health and everything else, at the end of the day, what does it matter if you have bankrupt debt inside your account? It's just not. It's worthless. So, all right. So Hayes, yeah, your site is nuts. Is it nuts? I thought it was kind of simple. You just it's got 3 or 4 paths that you can go down. It's up to you. Goldfinger, thank you, my good man. It's always nice to be educated. Cheers to you. Very welcome. I'm glad that you're on here. I'm glad that all of y'all are on here educating yourself. I give freely, and I do my best to try to help everybody on a case-by-case basis the best I can. I do get kind of busy. I'm managing a bunch of houses and properties. I got 2 crazy kids. I got an ex-wife, a girlfriend. I'm just bumping and grinding, getting it on. But anyway, appreciate all y'all educating yourselves as well. We're all in this together. That's what it is. But my site is that's the first time I've heard it called nuts. I would just say I've broken down my 3 lights into the paths that you can start educating yourself on if you want to take those paths. Nature, spirit, and commerce. It's up to you. And then I have a help, whether or not you want to donate or call me or email me or whatever. Other than that, I got my playlist. I post my playlist on my website also. Facts, yes, Hazy. That Dropbox is a massive benefit. Well, it took me a while to build it, and it changes. I think I posted that on my help thing, or maybe I did it at the bottom. As I update folders on my files all the time, that stuff changes because I have a lot of people that would just download the whole Dropbox and then they'll run with it. But I have 1,000 plus videos of TikTok information that I need to plug onto my Dropbox folders that I do when I can for free time. Chrissy Joe, I literally crave knowledge. Me too, but I use discernment and everything, dude. Yes. So one of the worst things we can do is when we start coming to the knowledge of how everything is being twisted and deceiving everybody, is everything looks like shiny. We all become crows and we look at shiny stuff and we come, trying to fly down on it and stuff and want to peck at it. But that's why I laid these foundations of nature, spirit, and commerce, and I started building on them. And I laid foundations that can't be shaken. And I've had people try to shake them. I've had people come at me and test them, and they have so far tried the test of time and have survived from everybody who has come at it and attacked it. So I laid those foundations, and I've been building on them. And that's what I do to grow. But I try to take a position of neutrality whenever I'm looking at new information, even if it's opposing what I think is correct, because I used to think stuff was a certain way, and then I learned it's not, So I always try to take a position of neutrality, but so that if you're in the middle position of equity, you're able to see both sides. That's how you can judge a case. Just like the administrator in a court, the judge is sitting in between the 2 parties and weighing the scale, right? And for you to decide, to pick a side, to go over, take some time. Not just don't jump to everything shiny. And that's a good way to try to operate out there. Nuts is good, Hazy. Oh, it's a good nuts. Cool. We're talking about almonds. Did y'all know that that's the correct way to pronounce almonds is almonds? The L is silent, and it's so weird that you don't know. It sounds weird. Mr. Rex, what's your take on free energy sources? My take is the sun is a free energy source, that water is free energy source, our bodies are emanating energy, we have biomagnetism, we exchange energy just by touching the earth with our flesh. You can tap into that stuff, and it's there. It is not profitable. Tesla was not the first person to find out about free energy in the ether, because there's positive ions up there that you can tap into. And believe it or not, graphene is I think one of the most conductive things you can use. And they have graphene antennas that can grab these particles very easily. And I think some of the old Tartarian technology that used to grab etheric energy, a lot of that stuff was purposely bombed during wars. And my dad used to tell me that the Europeans have much more advanced and modernized industrial manufacturing plants, and the reason for that was because most of their buildings got bombed during the war. But if you look at the old world fairs, where they quote unquote built entire huge cities in a year or two, and then demolished them all, it was all a facade to exchange knowledge and information and do certain things, and then blow up the free energy. Because the people that want to control everything plan 100 years in advance. They were the ones that were like, this goes against our narratives. We can't. It's not you're not able to make money by giving people free energy. And so that's the last thing they wanted, was allow everybody to have that knowledge. So they confuse us, they divide us, they force us against each other, they hide the truth, but a lot of it's right there in front of us. But you can relate, Mr. Rec. Yeah, it's there. Free energy's there. You could easily make almost anything an over unity by using solar power to get some type of mechanism over that over unity. Like there's so many motors and stuff that are almost there to creating over unity, and you could just use a solar panel to give it that just tiny little oomph or whatever it needs to continue the cycle. Like it would be so easy to make free energy, you know. Although, you know, granted the sun is not out all the time and solar panels are very, very low on efficiency, but you could easily do that. Mr. Rex, there was a Disney show that had the lyrics on its own. Everything is not what it seems. Yeah, that's true. It is 100%. When I look at that, it is 100. When you start breaking stuff down and doing research and finding and asking questions, yeah, it'll blow your mind. You know, if you stop accepting the mainstream narrative on everything. All right, Hayes Wees, can you talk about using the Office of Executor to manage the straw man at arm's length with a POA? Yes, that is old school technology. Watch my misinformation videos. I suggest actually watching the playlist on my profile to help re-educate you, because a lot of that stuff is old school tech. You don't want to be the executor. I mean, you can. You know, there's 78 billion ways to handle any situation, so if you want to be the executor, you can be the executor, but it's one of those things that I do not suggest unless you are very well learned and have expressed a will in order to even engage in that out in the public. But the straw man was created by the state, and it's not your property. It is theirs. You are the authorized representative of it, but you're allowed to do certain things with the straw man. You know, you have the unlimited ability to contract as a sovereign. You can use that as an entity. You can create your own entity that is very similar to the U.S. citizen. You can create trusts. You can create businesses. It's up to you how you want to engage out there in the world. You disagree on the almonds? We grow them? You mean like that nobody knows how to pronounce them? How to pronounce almond? I think the L's in like
almond.
Oh, there's no way I was misled on that. The L I thought was silent. Almond. Yeah, right there. Boom. The L's silent on almond. You had to call me out, and I was like, man, let me go back. But it's so common to say all with the L that nobody calls it almond. If you say somebody like, can I get an almond, they'll be like, what the heck are you talking about? You know, and that's why a lot of people want to use the current Black's law for everything when they're talking about legalese, because stuff does change, and whenever you're dealing in the legal system, you want to kind of know what they're currently dealing with and understanding when it, talking, you know, because stuff does change, fads change. There's definitions that are crazy and change all the time. There used to be 2 sexes. Now there's like 7,000. Penny, I appreciate how you typically follow the bad news with the good news. How do I do that? I didn't know I was given news. I try my best not to report news. No, I'm just messing around. All right, so research truths for 35 years, 6 books written. So wow. So far, law studied 11 years, remedies glory. That is awesome. Heck yeah. Wise virgin slots tips guru. That's cool. Yeah, I'm pushing near 11 years studying on my own as well. I started writing a book and then stopped, and I'm kind of glad I did. The symbol that I drew, or that's on my website, I drew that daggone 15 years ago or something. And there's another one that I drew like almost 20 with the hooks. Oh, because they're called almonds. I got you, Our Lady Liberty. That's funny. Mr. Rex, what gets me is they do all this BS to hurt people. But I'm pretty sure they can still be rich, just quit. At the end of the day, that just makes them look bad. So the systems that are in place are there for a reason, and when you can, it's very, very hard for the common layperson to look at the top of the pyramid down. It's more easy, and by design, that we're all down at the bottom trying to rub $2 together just to survive, looking up, you know, at the puppet masters that are pulling all the strings. But the truth is that we're all individually sovereign, and we're all ultimately powerful and unlimited abilities, right? But they by design, have hidden it so that you have to take time and effort outside of the herd to find it. And that's what the whole journey and path was, following the gold back to the Wizard of Oz, to the guy that was just pulling levers. You know, the whole shebang was just one guy pulling levers. You ultimately decide your destiny, and it's up to you what you want to do. Again, I've had some of my mentors that have studied for 10, 11, 12 years, just like this guy, saying that they wish that they spent all of that time with their kids or with their wife or with loved ones, because the law is endless. They will never stop making laws because we are sovereign. And you know, trying to box in a sovereign, they always find a way to poke their little ugly head out this way, that way, that way. You know, because we have unlimited power and ability, so they will not stop ever making new laws, new codes, new statutes. It's just endless, you know, and that's why the law is summed up in love the Lord or the creators with all your heart, love your neighbor as yourself. Boom, that's it, you know, and that's the best way to operate. Now, granted, it is great to know what thine enemies how they operate. And I have spent a lot of time understanding that, especially if you're going to be engaging in contracts and dealing in commerce, because one of the maxims in commerce is if you're going to be engaged in commerce, it is presumed to know what you're doing, you know, and we get tripped up all the time because we have no clue what we're doing walking around with bankrupt Federal Reserve debts in our pocket, you know, and exchanging that or engaging in that or signing up contracts or using the Social Security number. You know, we don't know. Even your life insurance, everything's in trust. Even in your life insurance, it says you have to have a beneficiary for it. Everything's in trust. Money's in trust. Banking's in trust. Relationships are in trust. Equity's in trust. You know, it's just everything's in trust. You know, that is some good foundations to build upon. All right, guys, I've been here for about an hour. I'm at the bottom. Anybody got any additional questions? If not, I'm probably going to wrap up. This live video will be on YouTube. The audio will be on my Telegram group. Please look at all the playlists on my profile that help re-educate you. All of my social medias are linked on my website, which is tagged onto my TikTok profile page as well. Take some time, browse around. It has auxiliary information in there. Anyway, feel free to browse around. You can DM me, email me, you can call me. Yeah, I'll try to answer everybody the best I can. Other than that, cheers. I hope y'all enjoy your Friday. It is a beautiful day. Y'all are very, very welcome. I'm glad y'all came on and helping so many people out here today. And I usually try to get on once a week around Friday. I try to drop one video a week on TikTok and go lives on Fridays around now-ish. So anyway, love you guys. We're all one. Much appreciated. Enjoy.